Hi, so I'm just going to let the camera just roll and I'm going to talk. Um, I'm going to talk some truths today, some real truths, because I think it's time and I think I'm ready to talk about the truths. Um, when I started intentionally waiting, as I always say, I'm showing up for me and I'm also showing up for you. But what I don't say is why. Why am I showing up for me? Why am I showing up for you? What is so important about my life, my ordinary day that I do on a day-to-day basis that even warrants an ear from yourselves? Why do you want to listen to me talk about the things that I'm doing right and things I'm doing wrong and places I'm going and places I'm not going? What is so important about that? And the truth is, it's not. The truth is, you're not interested in my day-to-day work much I may not necessarily be interested in your day-to-day work, but there's a reason and there's a passion within me as to why I felt it necessary to show up, and I believe I started to show up just to show up. And sometimes you just don't know why you're showing up. Sometimes you don't know why you are in a situation, but you do it nevertheless. But last week I had an encounter with a friend that I hadn't seen for roughly about 10 years, and we started talking, and he said a couple of things, and in that moment I opened up 100%. Now, it's not to say that I haven't opened up about what I'm going to talk about to other people, but I kind of have opened up to people that I felt safe with, that I felt comfortable with, opened up to family members, not all family members, but some family members. But aside from that, it's something that I've kept close to my heart. And for me to be able to be sat across the table with somebody and open up to a conversation that wasn't even asked of me to do so, it kind of got me thinking. And ever since I've had that conversation, I've just had this voice in my head that's just been getting louder and louder and louder. And the voice in my head has been telling me that this is my why. Why do I show up on this forum? Why do I show up? And now I know my why, and because I know my why, it's something that I cannot ignore. So there's no point in me continuing unless I'm prepared to talk about my why. So today I'm going to tell you my why. And as difficult as it is to share with you, I believe that it is something that is not only going to help me, but is also going to help you. And it might not help you directly, but it may help somebody that you know. I don't know whether this is going to fall on, I don't know which ground this is going to fall on, but it has to fall on some fertile ground. There's got to be some fertility in this. And in there being fertility, when there is fertility, wherever that is, that leads to growth. And it doesn't matter what that growth looks like. It just matters that there is growth. So it's so important to me that I go about my future intentionally because of my past. Because yes, I've been married before. Yes, I've walked a path of being in a relationship, a long-term relationship, over 20 odd years, and being married. And it's had its great points. It's had its wonderful points. But, when I walked into it, what I was attracted to was the lights and the glitz and the glamour of it all. And yes, I tell you, there was a lot of it, It was from the outside, it's kind of like shone brightly. Everybody wanted to be us. Everybody wanted to be where I was, because that was the picture that people saw. But, sometimes within the mist of the glitz and the glamour, there's pain and there's suffering. And for my life, there was a lot of pain and there's a lot of suffering, because behind the closed doors, there was a lot of brutality. Behind the closed doors, there was a lot of violence. Behind the closed doors, there was a lot of psychological breaking down to the point that you didn't feel you could do anything on your own. You felt like you needed this other person to be able to survive. That person was giving you the breath that you had to be able to go through to another day. I became isolated. I had no friends. I had no real people around me to build me up. I moved away from my family. I was distanced because I felt like this was what life was supposed to be like. And no matter on occasions when I'd say that there's got to be a different way, I always got put back into that scenario that I felt like this is how it is. And sometimes you can feel like that because you've neglected everybody, because you've put yourself into a situation which means that you feel like there's nowhere for you to go. You feel like you cannot go out there and get help. You feel like there is nobody there that is watching you. And you feel all these things and you feel so alone. And for years and years and years, this was my life internally. But externally, I had the pretty smile. Externally, I had the cars. Externally, I had the holidays. Externally, I had all the things that people wanted. And the reason why I was in that situation in the first place is because I didn't choose wisely when I went in. I went looking for the wrong foundation. So I show up today for people so that they don't have to walk the path that I walk through. But not only for the people that are yet to walk through their own journey, but also for the people that are currently in a situation that feel like there is no way out. And I'm living testimony to show you that there is a way out because I have been through it and I am now on the other side. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's going to be easy. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, you're going to hear my voice and every situation is going to turn around. Because no, it wasn't. It wasn't easy for me. When I left the first time, I left with nothing. I literally walked out of the house and I walked. But do you know, 5 years later, I came back to the same situation that I left because I felt I hadn't put my all in. I felt I needed to do something more. I felt that I wasn't strong enough to be able to do life on my own. So I came back in for another 2 years worth of not necessarily the same, but ultimately it was the same. Manipulation. The same pulling you down. The same making you feel like you are nothing. The same where you have gotten your no worth. And people stand and ask me the question all the time, like, Clara, like, why are you a Christian? And for me, it's because I remember that one day when I was stood up in the shower and I felt so broken and I had nothing and I was nothing and I looked like nothing on the inside. I was empty. I had no way out and I felt, is this going to be my life for the rest of my life? And on that day, I remember praying and saying to God that, God, if you would get me out of this situation, because I've tried it already. I tried it the first time and it failed because I tried it in my own strength. I walked with my own legs and I walked using what I felt was my own strength. But it failed because it got me right back there. But the second time around when I prayed and I believed that that was what God was going to do, I didn't walk out on my own. I got marched out by God. And this is why, for me, my journey is the way it is. And for me, I believe that this is not about me coming and saying to you, become a Christian, don't become a Christian. This is not what this is about. This is me saying to you that if you are in this situation, there is hope and there is a possibility for you to come out. And you can come out and you can get to the other side. It is possible because I am just an ordinary person and I've been through it and I am on the other side. And as difficult as this is for me to talk about my life in the manner and the way that I'm talking about it. It's important for me to let you know this. It's important for me to let you know that you are not on your own and you are not alone. And you don't have to go through what you're currently going through. There is a way out. For me, it was the prayer that I made and I got marched out. And I'll tell you the story about that another time. But since then, it meant that I left with nothing and I got stripped of everything. When I say everything, and that may scare you, but I tell you, I would have rather been stripped of everything than be left in the situation that I was in. Because when you are stripped of everything that you do not need, you get given the things that you need. And sometimes it's just the bread that you need for the day. Sometimes it's just the word that you need for the day. Sometimes it's just the person that you need for the day. Sometimes it is just for the day, but sometimes it is the person that you need for the week. It is the bread that you need for the week. It is the word that you need for the week. And then sometimes it's the word that you need for the month and for the year and the person you need for the month and for the year. Sometimes it's just this until eventually it becomes the things that you need for the rest of your life. Transition is so difficult, but so essential. And this is why I show up. This is why I show up. I show up for those people that are going through their journey and they don't want to do the wrong thing. Because choosing your life partner is one of the most important things that you're ever going to do in your life. And if you choose wrong, you can go around the wrong path and you can be on that wrong path for a long time, if not for the rest of your life. And for those of us that did that step and we ended up with the wrong partner, what I'm saying to you is that there is hope. You can get out. You can get out. And I'm walking this walk now because I'm on the other side and I'm showing you what life can look like on the other side. I'm showing you that you can have an inner peace. I'm showing you can have an inner beauty. I'm showing you that you can have an inner freedom. You can have all of these internally, which then become external. But you got to want it. You got to want it. That's all. You got to want it. You don't have to settle for what you're settling for. I settled for a long time. I was in a relationship for a long time. You know? And it's only now that I'm coming to terms with the fact that as bad as that relationship was, through all the beatings, through all the spitting, through all the guns in my mouth, through all the things that I went through in that period, I've come to the point where I can now forgive. Because I know forgiveness is what I need to move into the next stage of my life. You know, all the other things that I've been talking about in intentionally waiting, yes, they're important, yes. I had to get to the point of loving myself. Yes, I had to get to the point of knowing where I stand. Yes, I've got to get to all of this point, but what is at the core of it right now is I've got to get to the point of forgiveness. And sometimes it's so difficult to forgive those people that have hurt you so badly. Whether they knew they were doing it or they didn't know they were doing it. Whether they were mentally, physically, psychologically messed up or they weren't. It's irrelevant. But what is relevant for you, for me, is to forgive. And I'm sitting before you right now because I'm letting you know that I have forgiven. And forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. And forgiveness doesn't mean that the person gets scot-free. It's not about that. It's about enabling you to move into the next stage of your life and being free. And by me forgiving, I am now free. I'm now free to continue in this journey of waiting intentionally for the things that I believe are going to come my way. One way or another, they're going to come. They're going to come, and they're going to come your way as well. One way or another, they're going to come. But you've got to go through the steps. You've got to go through the stages. You've got to be prepared. You got to have a connection of people around you, people that will hold you up, that will lift you up, that will be there for you. And they will come. They will come. They came for me. This is a bit of an odd talk, and yeah, it's not one that I thought that I would be talking about. It's not one that I felt I had to talk about, because it was easier to talk about the other stuff. It's easier to give you a glimpse into my life, you know, and to tell you that I'm showing up for you and showing up for me. But I think the why is probably one of the most important things. And that is my why. That is my why. So I hope and I pray that this session has blessed somebody. You know, you might need to listen to this over and over again. I don't know. You might need to just hear it once and it's a confirmation. I don't know. But what I do know is that now that I know my why, I know that this is a journey that I am going to keep fighting for every single body that is either going through the situation or doesn't want to end up in that situation every single day for the rest of my life, because this is what I'm here for. I got taken out of the scenario, not just for me, but so that I can help others either not go through it, or if they are going through it, to help them to know that they can come out of it, and that there's hope and there's joy and there's peace and there's love and there's happiness and there's all of these things at the other side of it. Not because I'm telling you, but because I am living proof of that. Where I stand today now is so different. I am such a different, transformed person from where I was then. And I can talk about it, and I can smile about it, and I can be honest with you about it. And I would so love if you were where I am, or even further. And you know, and if there are people that are listening to this, that have gone through this and have come out of the other side, I would love to hear your comments. I would love for you to share, because there are so many people that are suffering still. So many people that may even be out of a situation, but their life has been totally destroyed. Totally destroyed. You know? So if you can just send through a little bit of encouragement to somebody, that will make all the difference. Thanks, guys, for listening. I'm going to be showing up next week for me and for you. And you know why I'm going to be showing up. And so do I. Take care, everybody. Bye.